really upon reflection, I think we really grow towards our excellence, our own personal excellence. And for me, that's learning along the way. So to be a good leader, you have to learn about your character. You have to learn, I always say, about your two sides, what you're really strong at and maybe what your vulnerabilities are. And when I say vulnerability, I don't mean what your weakness is, because often it takes great strength to be vulnerable, but sort of being aware of ourselves. So I think the big message then would be, do you know yourself, your own personal tendencies, and perhaps what your greatest character dimensions are, and maybe what your weaknesses might be, and something that you can be aware of so that you can grow towards your strong side, as I call it. Growing up in teams, I think they change throughout the course of your career because you learn differently what each one means to you. I know what drive means to me. I know what courage means to me. I'm not an excessive risk taker, but I certainly have courage. When you're working in a team environment, the understanding of humanity and empathy and humility is something that I often think is underrated. I think people think about accountability, and you think of these strong words that come off so strong, and they are, but I think that if you start looking at the humanity and the humility of a corporation or a team, you really start to look at the culture and how people act towards one another, and kindness, and I think it goes a long way. And certainly I think that's something that I've learned over the course of my career, that they do go a long way. Humanity and humility would be two that I would really, really hammer home if I could. Mentorship is very, very important. Sometimes we don't recognize who that mentor is when maybe perhaps we're young, or perhaps we're going through our own journey and we don't have a full understanding, that's what that person is doing right now, because we're just not as mindful about it. But for me, certainly, my parents, my grandparents, my husband, when I think about all the people that have supported me, but my grandmother was really one that sort of had her voice, not taken away, but at her time, she really didn't have the ability to stand up and say, I want this. And so growing up in an environment where it was supported to have my dream and to say I can do this with support was something that was really, really important for me, and the impact that comes with that is standing up and owning your dream or finding your voice. You create impact, and my big thing with impact is we don't always see the end result of our action or our words, but we have to know somewhere intrinsically that we are affecting someone else by our actions. And so impact goes a long, long way. And in my grandma's, I say always, my grandma gave me the courage to stand up and say, why not me? And then my daughters now are playing a game they love. And so that's, a couple of generations, and yet the impact is still being felt. So if we can have an impact in today, imagine what tomorrow will look like. Whether it's a year or a quad or a specific time frame, I think there's typically a plan put in place. And when the plan is put in place by a leader, sometimes it's not always understood by everyone else. And so getting trust and buy-in to that isn't always easy. We don't always agree with our leader. At the end of the day, if there's respect and you believe that there's good intention, there's authenticity, I think that goes a long, long way. And over the course of my career, I think I've played for leaders that have had that. With that came feedback that I didn't like, and with that came with things that I had to learn to deal with, because it's my responsibility to take that and do something with it. But had I never been told, perhaps I wouldn't be sitting here, because I wouldn't have made the adjustments to get myself back on the team, say. Leadership comes in all, types, shapes, forms, so it's a matter of choosing the right moment as well, and I think that some people are really great at doing that, is choosing that right moment to have their voice, and when to sit back and let it work itself out. I think when I got cut from the national team when I was made it when I was 17 and got cut a few years later, and I was not going to the first ever Olympics. And I think I was in a point in my life, my career, not only was I vulnerable. Clara Hughes says it, I always say this, we're connected by our struggles. When I listened to her, I really, it resonated with me. But when I was at my sort of lowest point in terms of, felt really down, it was very difficult to pick myself back up. And I think the honest look at myself was very, very difficult to do. And I think being resilient was very, very important. But that resiliency wasn't innate in me. It also came from those around me who helped me find my resilience by, the push, by the words, by the quotes, by the support. So for me, I think my drive got me back up. My passion got me back up. And I would think I was given the tools and resources to find courage to ask the tough questions in order to get the feedback I would need to try and make the team again. I relied a lot on my drive and, again, my passion for the sport that I loved, because at the end of the day I still did love it. Not trying became not an option. And so I think, yeah, the drive would probably be the one that I relied on the most. But it was the other people around me who showed great humanity in helping me get back up.